Good morning, everybody. I'm Mark Sussman, the editor of Willamette Week. Thrilled to be here with John Tapogna, who's the president of EcoNorthwest. John, how are you?
I'm doing well, all things considered. There is a little bit of a silver lining for us. We've got two college kids back in the house. We never anticipated having the four of us together for this extended period of time, and it's a bit of a gift.
You, before the doom and gloom, the big issue on the tongues of everybody running for office in the state has been the need for more housing. We cannot throw enough money at housing. Is it possible that we're going to see a significant slowdown in the demand for new housing in this state because of the economy, because no one's going to be moving here, because there aren't any jobs?
Yes, you do have that possibility. Obviously, you've got reduced incomes. You may have slower in migration, but you may also have households starting to combine. Younger folks moving back in with parents, for example. So just the number of households that are being created or changed over time, slowing, which, and then with the reduction of incomes, less money to spend on rent and on mortgages. And so that'll put downward pressure on prices. The big fear that we have is that you'll have possibly the same kind of trend that you saw coming out of the Great Recession, where you saw prices fall during the recession itself, but then the just public policy and the industry was very slow in stimulating and getting housing production back up to speed coming out of that recession. And so what we had as we were moving sort of 2012, 13, 14, in the coming out of the last recession, was we had households starting to move back into the state, people moving out of their basements and looking for places to live, but housing wasn't being constructed. So over the course of the last decade, we built 8.5 housing units for every 10 new households formed. And that put big upward pressure on prices and rents. Is
it your guess that this is going to be a deeper recession for Oregon than we suffered through in 2008 and 9?
I think so, and it really does all come back to our success with the virus. We have to listen very carefully to the virus, and the best piece I've seen on this was a piece on Medium called "The Hammer and the Dance." And it's a series that has been coming out, and this notion that the hammer is the shutdown and trying to get that infection and death rate down. I think Oregon has been very successful in that, the credit to the governor and to local public officials for following science on that one. But now we're in this period where you sort of step out onto the dance floor a little bit, try to reopen the economy a little bit, see what happens, really pay close attention through testing to the infection rate. If it appears you're okay, then maybe open it a little bit more. Again, pay attention. If that infection rate goes up, maybe you need to back off. So I think it's going to be this fit and start, maybe 2 steps forward, a step back, for the better part of a year and a half.
Downturns seem to be particularly seem to affect a state like ours more than most, but maybe I'm too close to it.
Yeah, and at the very beginning of this, you characterized Oregon as a poor state. We are not one of the superstar states. You sort of go around the country, and any of those states that are sort of proximate to one of the half a dozen superstar cities are really in a class of their own. And then I would put Oregon in sort of that next class down below that. We don't have a superstar city like a Seattle or a Boston or a DC or a San Francisco. So not really a poor state, but a middle income state. With respect to how we fare, I would, in addition to our industrial structure, I would go back and lean on the public health piece again. I think the better we are at listening to science and moving through this carefully, the better are the chances that that we come out on the other side ahead. I would say that Oregon and our neighbors on the West Coast, California and Washington, we won the shutdown period. If you look at how this whole thing played out, it started on the West Coast. Seattle was the place where we saw all those original cases, and it was taking off. And credit to the governors up and down the West Coast for having sort of moved in pretty good, consistent fashion to shut down the schools, and then do the stay-at-home orders. And I am encouraged by sort of the three-state alliance to think about this phased reopening of business. And if it is done coherently, and if we follow this dance of careful, 2-week phases, make sure nothing bad is happening with the infection, and then try to go a little bit more. If we follow that, then I think we as consumers become more confident to come out. And so maybe the restaurants get a little bit more business than they would have otherwise. Maybe the retail outlets get a little bit more activity than otherwise, et cetera. So I think the better and more coherent is this reopening phase, the stronger are the chances for Oregon. Now, obviously, you've got a whole global recession going on at the same time. So that's going to affect our activity as well. And Oregon does typically fall farther in typical recessions and rise faster in booms. So you would expect on balance, we are going to be affected disproportionately for those typical recession reasons in every way we have in the past.
You know,